on Facebook. What is up, Mortgage Coach community? Every Friday, it's Friday, 9 Pacific. We're here to rock it out for you guys. Dave Savage, the host. I've got my wingman, Todd Bookspan. What's up, Todd?
Hey, not much. Good morning, everyone. Super excited to be here as always in some unfamiliar digs, but it's me.
Cool. Well, I'm at WeWork Portland. I'm actually moving my WeWorks into a new space. I'm kind of digging it. If you can't tell, I have a view. I've got Josh Mettle helping us co-host this. What's up, Josh?
Good morning. I'm super stoked to be here. This is going to be a great message.
Cool. So for anybody that wonders what phone booth Josh is in, he's in the Delta Club on his way back home from a Genius Network event. So thanks for making it, Josh.
Wouldn't miss it.
Cool. And so I'm interviewing someone I've wanted to interview for a long time, Shayla Gifford. What's up, Shayla?
Thank you. Good morning. I'm good.
Good. I have a feeling that most of the people on the call, you don't need much introduction. For anyone who doesn't know who she is, while she is doing production and leadership, as a producer, she's done over $100 million for like 4 or 5 years. Is that right?
Correct.
What you said your goal on how much personal production you're going to do next month. What is that?
Well, my right-hand partner, Lynette, had said one time in our career, we wanted to hit 100 loans in a month. And so given the environment that we're in right now and the fact that we could all pretty much re-originate our entire 2018 pipeline, we're going for it. And so we're going to go for 100 loans in the month of July. So now I've not only said it to all of Guild Mortgage, I've said it to my team, but now thank you, Dave. You've made me say it to the whole nation.
Well, hey, that takes some courage. Go after it. So she's, been the #1 producer at Guild, very big company, very successful company. I can't remember where I saw you speak, but I know you spoke a lot at the core. So anybody who's been involved in the core has seen you on stage countless times. But here's the deal, guys. When it comes to being a modern mortgage professional, high touch, really connecting at a human level, not only loving on your customers, loving on your partners, but loving your team, Shayla is a role model. And when I got to meet her in my sales process, trying to get Guild on the team, I learned she really respects technology. She understands the power of CRM. She understands the power of Mortgage Coach. And she has what I think is as good an understanding of what you need to have as to what you need to be a modern mortgage professional going forward. So this call happened because I had seen a video she made for her tribe on what a perfect pre-approval experience was. She did a really nice job of integrating Mortgage Coach into that. Although I did have a couple clip notes, like I was like, Shayla, that was killer. Here's some considerations. And I said, hey, if I ever am on an interview with you, here's some things I would do. And then here we are. Shayla said, well, game on, Dave. Let's do this. Let's do a replay at Mortgage Coach. Did I get that right?
Yeah, and there's nothing that I love more, honestly, about our relationship, Dave, that you're so in. I mean, you've been doing this for decades, and I have you're so in. Every text, every voice memo, every video, you're just on it. You're ever present. You're current. You're passionate. And then your feedback really means something to me because it's poignant. It's thoughtful. It's really helpful. So I just should run everything by you before I do it because you run it through such an incredible filter of all these people that you're connected to, that you're always in growth mindset yourself and you're encouraging that in your community. I just don't know where I've been all these years to not be like part of your tribe every week. And so I could see why Josh is in a phone booth and Todd's in a random office, and yet we're all here on a Friday when things are blowing up. So thank you for that feedback and that passion that you've started pouring into me. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Well, let's do as much of a replay as you want. I mean, obviously you might have elevated some things. I think in today's market, while we still need to keep focused on purchase, no denying we're in a little bit of a mini refi boom. Could be gone in 3 days, could be gone in 3 months. But there is an opportunity. So anybody who wants to kill it with refis, you want to get as many refis out of your past customers as possible, we'll cover that in the second half of this call. And let's just crush it right now with pre-approval, why don't you, I think when you did that video, it was like 22, 23 minutes. Let's try to have you bring 22 minutes of leadership. Josh and Todd, I'd ask you guys to take notes. So like she's going to riff for 20, 30 minutes. And then we're going to jump in with, you said this, how about this? Or you said this, I have a question. And we'll save Q&A for the last half of the call. You guys cool with that?
Cool.
So take the stage.
Sorry, Dave. I'm sitting here trying to be quiet, but yes, we're cool with it. We both gave the thumbs up for those of you who couldn't actually see us on video.
I saw the thumbs up. So
we're both muting ourselves because there's background, but we're ready to take about 20 pages of notes. Rip, girl.
I do also have carpet cleaning for dummies back here, so if you guys want me to talk about that, if we have the time, I'm happy to do that.
No
after
time.
the refis.
Yeah, one last thing before you take the stage, Shayla. Remember, guys, this is a mastermind. Some of you are on Zoom watching this. I'm only going to pay attention to our Facebook Live conversation. And the reason is because I can only focus on two things. And then two, that's going to stay alive. So if you're on our Facebook Live and you have a question or a comment, post it. And then if you're watching the recording this on YouTube, like it if you get value. You know, the minute you're like, boom, give us a like. And take, share, ask questions, because I have a feeling Shayla for at least 24 hours will stay connected and we'll make sure you get your questions answered either live or after the fact. So Shayla, take the stage and walk us through a perfect pre-approval experience.
Awesome. Well, first I have to say that I can't take credit for everything that I'm going to teach today, because I am probably the best person that does R&D, which stands for rip off and duplicate. And so much of what I'm going to teach today is what I've learned from coaches that I've had, from one of my favorite people, Josh Sigmund. But I will tell you that the first 6 years I was in the business, I did a lot of volume, but mostly was all refinance volume. I never had a coach. I never had mortgage coach. I never had a mentor. I was just always looking for that next deal. Where was my next paycheck going to come from? I was bold and courageous. I would go door to door. I would get on the news. I would put flyers in people's mailboxes until I learned that was illegal. I would call titleists. I mean, I was willing to do whatever it took to get business. But what I found is that I was constantly nervous about, what if I lose a deal? What if I go on vacation? How am I going to, survive next month? And it was a very fear mindset around the business. And it made me not ever be able to relax. I brought my computer, my phone with me on every vacation, oftentimes playing to the day and working through the night, or sneaking off to the business center at whatever resort I was at to try to, continue to originate loans. And I certainly didn't know anything about building a team or really having a process. It was just, adrenaline, hard work, always answering the phone, integrity with my word. And you can do a lot of business that way, but you can't do Josh Mettle type business that way, or Todd Bookspan business that way. And so getting a coach was really powerful for me. And I started saying, I'm going to have a process for every single thing that I do. And for most of us being salespeople, we like to wing it. I like to wing it just about as much as anybody and run on adrenaline and personality. But what I realized is that, first of all, that's not duplicatable. I can't then hire somebody to duplicate that process. And second, am I really bringing my best forward in every opportunity? Because we all have the same time in a day. We all have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Say we all work 40 to 50 hours a week in this business. Why is it that one originator can close 20 loans a month and the next one does 4? Well, every single thing that they're doing, every phone call, every break bread with a realtor, every follow-up email, every thank you card, and especially every pre-approval meeting is more impactful, more powerful, and more purposeful, period. So this pre-approval process I put in place in about 2011. And this is when I really started getting confident about being a purchase lender and having something that realtors could rely on. So the pre-approval meeting is an experience, just like Dave used. I love that he uses words really intentionally, because that's what people are looking for, is an experience. If we don't offer an experience, then they can just go get everything online and through some portal. And so the experience has to be one that your real estate agent, your referring partner, can rely on. There again, being consistent, that things are going to be reviewed and certain processes are going to happen, and the mood and the atmosphere and the culture and all of it is similar, so that they can refer you over and over and over with confidence. And what happened for me is once I started putting these processes in place, not only did I feel more confident to go out and meet real estate agents and builders and say, I want your business, and I am going to always improve my process to be better and better and better, but I do have a process you can rely on. All of a sudden, I didn't always worry about where's my next paycheck going to come from? Where's my next refi? It was really just about, I have to meet agents, generate leads, and do a really strong pre-approval meeting. And even if a lot of other things fall apart, even if I'm not able to always follow up on my pre-approvals, or I'm not always able to call my realtors every single week, or I'm not always able to do, the 1,000 things that we want to do, if I kill it in the pre-approval meeting, it always gets back to that realtor. And that realtor will then refer me another lead. And it gets back to that realtor and they refer me another lead. So it's this incredible thing that helps keep the business not only stable, but growing. And I think that a customer generally makes their decision whether or not they trust their mortgage advisor in that pre-approval meeting. Basically, they decide at pre-approval if they're going to work with you or not. Now, yes, are they going to shop you or whatever? Yes, but they're still probably 90% decided once they meet with you. Do you have their best interest in mind? Do you listen? Do you have good advice for them? Are you adding value? All of those things. So let's just get right into it. First and foremost, what's your lobby experience like? When people come in, is your welcome receptionist warm and friendly? If you don't have one, that's fine. When I started, it was just me. I came to Guild and it was just me. And then I hired my first assistant 4 months in. I don't know if we had a bell at the front desk, but literally it was a tiny office. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but the energy has to be, I'm excited that you're here. So the minute your doorbell rings, you better sprint to the front and say, hey, I'm so excited, you must be the Petersons. And you're warm and you're welcoming and you're smiling and you're making eye contact. So many people blow it on this tiny thing. And you guys, people make a decision within 6 seconds whether or not they like us, right? So if you have a receptionist, make sure that we're working on this. We're offering a snack, we're offering water, everything's clean, your space looks good. If there is no receptionist, you're prompt about gathering people in the lobby. This is not a doctor's office. We don't want people sitting around for 25 minutes. That's not what this is about. Now, many people I know and coach will have somebody sit in the lobby and have a chance to look through a book of testimonials. I've never had the time to put that together, but I think it's a great idea if you have testimonials or reviews. The other thing is some people I know, Lizzie, Amber, a lot of the girls that I coach, they use an all about you form. And they start asking things like, what's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite candy bar? Tell me about your kids and your anniversary, and all of that information is then going into their CRM, and it helps for a more personal meeting when you meet with them. So first and foremost, you grab your customer, and I always ask the question, so did you find us okay? I don't know why I picked that one, but I just always think it's a great question to ask, and they, say yes or no or whatever. But I'm starting to build rapport. That is step number 1. And basically, we all know about building rapport, but it's so important to remember that I use the old rule, Ford, F-O-R-D. Ask them about their family, their occupation, their recreation, and their dreams. And, what I've learned from you, Dave, more than anything is really starting to ask about dreams to provide real advice. How long they plan on staying in this home. Why is this dream important to them? How long have they been thinking about it? That's when they all of a sudden transcend from your commodity to now your relationship. So I don't know, I spend 5 to 10 minutes on that, but you gotta be bold to ask questions. You gotta know how old are their kids? How do you like their education? What are some dreams about your kids' education? Do you have any extended family that live with you or that you care for? All of these questions matter to the housing situation and their living situation. Plus, people like people that are interested in them, right? They always say the most interesting person is the person that is interested in them. So that's the whole point of building rapport. I've seen so many of us in the industry that are driven and that are high D personalities on the DISC scale. And we just blow through this because we want to get right into the numbers and right into the pre-approval. And we don't spend that time building rapport. So that's step number one. Step number two, which I never used to do, but is critical, is edify the referral source. So you always, now hopefully over the phone when they called in or they applied on your website, you've captured that they were referred by this past client or this builder or this realtor, whomever, but sometimes you haven't. You need to ask the question. And if you know, then you say, wow, gosh, I'm so excited that we're referred to by Jack Cote. How do you know Jack? The reason I say, how do you know this person is because I used to think that when a realtor referred me a client, they were like best friends with these clients. It took me a long time, and maybe I'm just thick-headed, to realize that a lot of times agents that may have never met this customer before. This is now in the modern age an internet lead, and this internet lead has talked to 8 different agents. So it's super critical for me to know how warm or cold is the relationship with that referral source, that agent or builder, whatever. Have they been in the builder model 8 times, or did they just walk in there 20 minutes ago? That's going to change the way I edify or speak highly of that referral source. But always do it genuinely. If you got a random referral, then speak genuinely and use more generic terms like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky to be working with John. I've only had the chance to meet John a handful of times, but every single person that I run into in our industry that speaks of him speaks so highly. And I'm just honored to have one of his clients in my office. You are in great hands with John. That's not saying that John and I know each other. I know his kids. I know his favorite movies. But it's still a really nice, strong edification. If it were with Jack, I'd say, oh my gosh, you have no idea how lucky you are to be working with Jack Cote. You know, there's about 3,000 agents in our market. Many of them are part-time or, you know, do 1 or 2 transactions a year, are definitely not professionals and experts in doing what we do. And I'm telling you, Jack is always in the top 10, top 20 producing agents here. He cares so much about his clients. He'll go above and beyond. He's a great listener. I mean, I honestly don't know how him and his wife are so nice. Sometimes I'm like, how is it possible to be that nice? And I'm riffing and telling you exactly what I would say, because that's when that's how it gets back to the agent. Like, you got to really do honor for this person, and it will get back to that agent. Plus, it'll make the client calm down, because there's this thing called the triangle for trust. If they have trusted Jack in any sense at all, and now Jack is trusting me, by proxy, they're gonna trust me, right? If their past client or their sister or their cousin referred them, and I'm like, how do you know your cousin? Just kidding. Obviously, you know your cousin, but how close are you guys? Did you grow up together? Are you from the same town? I mean, seriously, you will find out like, oh, you know, we see each other once a year, or we're best friends. We talk every day, all day long. You have to know these things. The other thing that you have to ask in this, and this is a bold question, but again, great meetings that change your business is when you start pushing the limits of what you're comfortable with, is what did they say about me? And you literally shut up and smile. And it feels really awkward, but you must do it, because that's where they will say, oh, they said that, you know, I talked to 3 other lenders, but you're going to be the lowest rate in town. Okay. They said that you're the very best, that if there's anybody that can handle my situation, which is complicated, you are going to do whatever it takes to figure it out. Okay. They said that you were just funny and good looking and brilliant, and you and I would get along, maybe go on a date. Okay, right? It doesn't matter what they say, but you have to know what they said, because sometimes we assume that it's a slam dunk and we don't know that we're the 8th lender they're talking to. Or sometimes we assume that we're going to be heavily shopped because I'm looking at their credit report and they've got 3 inquiries on their credit report, and I'm going, man, I'm the 4th one in line. These people are shoppers, but they're not. They need more hand holding. So you got to ask that question, and you also have to know what your agent is doing. If the agent said, oh, they gave me 3 business cards and you're just the first person that answered. Okay, I need to know that, because It's important in my development and relationship with that referral partner. It's also super important with that client and where I stand with that client already. How have they been prepped to work with me? What are their expectations? Okay, so we've gone through 2 steps: build rapport, edify your referral source. The third thing you want to do is review their goals. So this was a huge shift for me, and realizing that way before the Google was around and there was rate shopping like crazy, and there's geocoding and all the stuff that people now get marketed crazy to. It's not about the interest rate. It's about their dreams, and it's about what their goals are. It's about, what is your goal for a house payment? This is what people live with, right? How much do you pay in rent now? Or what is your current house payment? What do you feel comfortable with? What is your goal for out of pocket? How much are you wanting to put in this investment? And then how long do you think you plan on staying in the property? And I know Dave's going to have more to this because this is where he's the most brilliant. So I'm excited for you to reinsert yourself there, Dave. Please do. But I always write on the phone, if we took a phone application, I'm asking for those goals on the phone. And then when they come in person, I'm reminding them of the goals that they told us on the phone. So I can see here that your goal was approximately a house payment of around $2,000 a month. Is that still the case? Because you don't know that in the 48 hours since you've talked to them on the phone, if they've looked at 4,200 properties on Zillow, they've run 13 mortgage calculators, they've talked to their financial advisor, their cousin, their aunt, their mother, their sister, or they've done a budget and now they've changed their mind. Because that's how humans work. Once they decide they're moving, man, they just, and they go all over the place. So reconfirm, is this still your goal? And then try to understand why. And then same thing for cash close, but you want to note those things on your file, put them in your CRM, put them. The other thing I've learned recently is to ask what the MIT is. What is the most important thing? So is the most important thing your payment? Is the most important thing your investment, like how much money or cash to close? Is the most important thing closing on time, right? Because their kids are going to start school. Their wife's going away for a month for a training. Who knows what they're going to have a baby. But that MIT, I think, is so critical as we have a real deal and we're putting it into operations, that if everybody keeps focusing on the most important thing, we will make sure to listen, hear, and serve our client, because that's what the differentiator is really listening and serving. So I take note of their goals, and then I say, hey, let's see if you qualify for those goals. Let's make sure that we have some options there. And that's when I go over all their documentation. Now, when I was doing about 5 to 6 pre-approval meetings a day, my favorite way to do this was literally have them bring in all their stuff in person in the office. And I still believe that's the best way, even though there's so much other technology and ways you could do it. But here's why. Number one, if I've got a teammate that's scheduling appointments, if I have them then underwriting and reviewing documents, it's screwing up their main thing. And the main thing for me is quick response time to a lead, get them on the appointment. Because when I call a dentist, I'm calling to make an appointment. I'm not calling for the receptionist to tell me about my teeth. That's kind of, I want to get on the calendar. And I want to have my LOAs kind of able to keep moving forward. So I prefer that people bring in their docs in person. The other thing is I want them to see this stack of docs and me taking the staples out and spreading them across my desk and going and making the copies, because most people don't want to go through that over and over and over again. And at home, if they have to take the staples out and they have some janky scanner that they're having to scan one doc at a time, and then they put it on email and email it to me, well, how easy is it for them to just forward that email to my competitor? Forward that email to some online lender. They've already done the heavy lifting. So I like them to bring in their documents. I do it when I'm sitting in front of them. It's still all part of building rapport. As I'm looking at their pay stubs, tell me about your job. How long have you been a plumber? What made you want to be a plumber? Was it a family profession? I'm getting to know them more, and I'm, multitasking at the same time. Now, if it's an out-of-state client and their tax returns are this thick, it's a little bit different process. I know some originators even keep their originals and they put it in a lock safe, which certainly makes it hard for them to shop you. I've never done that. That's too much stuff for me to keep around. But everybody has a little bit different technique. The point is, think through your technique. know the market that you live in. If you live in a market where people are all driving an hour and a half to come see you, you're going to do more pre-approval meetings over Zoom or some other video platform like we're doing today. And you can share docs and share a screen. So long story short, that's the way I like to do it. But other people, you know, love all of their portals, and people upload their docs and they label them for you and all that stuff. However you like to do it, you do it. But bottom line is, when I meet with a client, I actually look at their stuff. I'm actually reviewing their pay stub. I'm looking at their year-to-date income. I'm looking at their work number VOE. I'm a loan officer, for God's sakes, and our goal as a loan officer is to basically be like the attorney presenting their case to the judge. And I want them to know that. I want them to know that every single person has got something that doesn't really fit exactly in the box. Not everybody lives their life according to getting a loan tomorrow. Some people cash their paycheck at the casino and put cash in the bank. Some people, I don't know, you guys know the story. So I want them to know, like, I'm on your side. We're going to find the things that are potentially going to be, you know, an issue based on how the government does their guidelines. And I'm going to coach you on how to deal with that, or I'm going to find out how to overcome that now in the pre-approval. So I'm writing LOEs in a pre-approval, like about their gaps in employment, or the fact that they've had 8 jobs in the last 2 years, or the fact that they've got some derogatory credit. I just feel like that's where I want to do it, in the pre-approval meeting. And by the way, they're already going, wow, this chick is doing a lot of work and she understands my scenario and she's listening to me. Why would they then leave at that point, right? So I hammer all that out there. I also run DU right in front of them. So I'm doing a full hour-long consult, but I'm not trying to create work for the next person in line. I'm trying to hammer everything right in that meeting. I might be emailing underwriting right in that meeting, and they see me doing it. So once I've run DU, I'll show them that I've gotten an approval. It's a celebratory thing. You've got to be excited for people. I think sometimes, if you've been doing this a long time, I'm 15 years now in the business, it's just like another thing for us. But I know for me, every time I've applied to get a loan, even being in the business, I feel very vulnerable. I feel like, oh my gosh, you know I'm not perfect. I know I didn't make that credit card payment on my Capital One when I was 18 and I had 2 lates. And I know I had a personal short sale back in 2010, and I'm sure I've screwed up something else. And, you know, that's what I'm thinking, and I'm in the business. So they're thinking that too. And so our goal is to help them reduce anxiety, to educate them, and to focus them on really what the next step is in their journey. So the next thing is obviously where you get to present the options. And this is where we use Mortgage Coach. Haven't always done that. I mean, guys, I used to just take the back of my manila folder, flip it over, and handwrite and scratch stuff. And then I would take some sort of like sticky note and give them a needs list. So I've done hundreds of loans off of like sticky notes and folders, and it's not super duplicatable, and it doesn't provide the wow factor. So what I've really loved about upgrading our process with Mortgage Coach is now this is something that they're not going to get from Quicken or Costco or, all of these online companies. And it allows us to have this different conversation with them. So our policy is we like to put always 3 different options, even if somebody qualifies for an FHA loan, period. They've got a 589 FICO score, they've got basically no money, they're getting a gift, and they only get FHA. Well, then I'm going to present them an option at their max pre-approval, something a little bit less and something a little less. And then I'm able to demonstrate for every $20,000 in purchase price, here's the difference in payment. And I love doing that because anything that we can do proactively to cut down on phone calls is huge. I want to empower them to understand when they're looking at a house and they're saying, gosh, this house is $20,000 cheaper, but I've got to go to Home Depot every weekend and spend $300 a whack improving it. What is that equivalent to the payment? It might be worth just having a higher payment and the house is move-in ready. And so I'm kind of talking through those things. If it's a conventional buyer, for example, and they're putting 20% down, I might also give them a 10% down option. And I might go higher than their goal so that they can again see, well, if you find a house that's a $2,000 payment, but you got to go to Home Depot every weekend, or it's the wrong school district, or you're not vibing with the neighborhood, I want you to see what an extra $30,000 would do for your payment. Because many of my clients will say, gosh, an extra $150 to be in that school district with that less of a commute, you know, dropping my gas bill and my quality of life, it might be worth it. So again, this is you and I just working together. I'm not trying to push you to the highest price. I'm just trying to really educate you on the options. Of course, using Mortgage Coach for educating somebody that needs mortgage insurance is huge. And then also seller credits and understanding like, here's your max, but if you could get a lower rate with a seller credit, then your max goes up even more. So there's so many different ways that we really differentiate by presenting options to the customer there. Then I always print my pre-approval letter, okay? You got to make this ceremonial. I didn't get this in the beginning, but they came in here to get something. I want them to leave with something. So I will put the pre-approval together with them in a Word doc, and I'll show them how I edit it. And I will show them that, you know, you're kind of comfortable at 340, even though you can go to 380, I'm going to put your pre-approval letter at 340. And this is, again, a conversation of like reminding them their max pre-approval and all that stuff. I'll print it and I'll sign it right in front of them. And I will give it to them and I'll say, and here's your official letter. And then I'll let them know that I'm going to send it to their agent and that the agent and I are going to work together to always refresh this pre-approval every time they make an offer. And I will say, look, if you're going to write an offer for $329,900, we're going to change that pre-approval letter to say $329,900. That way the seller doesn't know you can afford a dime more than that and doesn't just automatically counter you to try to squeeze you for more money. And again, that's using trust. It's also educating them on the process, and it's also tying me to their agent and them to their agent. The last couple things are then just creating urgency. So this is when you can pull up the rate watch and you can look at what's going on with the rates. You can use third-party resources, whether you use Freddie Mac's website or whether you use whatever website that you use or don't use, but talking about, you know, interest rates changing. And of course, you can do this while you're presenting options. Is like, your max price today is 380. If rates were to go up a half point, your max purchase price drops down to 340. So most important, find a home. This is the best investment advice I can give you, is find a home, not a house. Because if it's a home that you want to live in a neighborhood that you love, in a school district that you love, no matter what happens with the economy, we have a crazy election year next year, the stock market crashes, it goes up, we go all over the place. It doesn't matter because you're in your home and it's a payment that you can afford. So find that home, take your time to find that home, but also be aggressive, knowing that we're probably in a multiple offer market. We're in a low inventory market. And let's be aggressive with it, but also be mindful that if you drag this too long and rates go up, it really does have a major impact in your overall total cost of this mortgage, in your affordability and all that kind of stuff. So I think that is our job, to help the agents get people moving, because the numbers really are impacted by urgency. And I think agents love referring to us when they come back excited, motivated, educated, and like, let's go. Shayla said the next step is to get in your car and go find houses. The agents are like, yes, I'm so glad I sent them to Shayla, because they're not screwing around. They're ready to go. The last thing I'm going to do is tell them my promises. And of course, I'm going to ask, did we cover all of your goals for this meeting? We set the tone of the meeting that the goal today is to review your goals, make sure you get fully pre-approved for those, educate you on your options. Did we cover those? You got to get a yes. You want to make sure that you got what you needed there. You can also read their body language. You guys know how the story goes. They start, and one person's like this, like leaning back in the chair, and one spouse is kind of like this, and one's into it, and one's like totally not. You kind of want to match and model. So a lot of times I'll kind of sit back and we're building rapport this way, and then I'll start, going like this, and then I'm in, and then I'm, like this, and all of a sudden, if I know that we've done a good job, they're both in, their body languages, we're open, we're in, we're educated, they're nodding, they're with me. And not every meeting goes like that, but I tell you, if I'm going for a great meeting, that's what I'm going for. I'm also looking for other opportunities to refer other professionals, because if I want a referral-based business, I want to be able to refer a pest person, a pool person, an insurance person, whatever the case might be. So I'm noting all that stuff, a CPA, a financial advisor, life insurance. That's how you take a 1 hour meeting and blow it up. Put together a really good file, edify your agent, answer questions before they become questions later, find referrals for other people. And by golly, you better ask them for a referral in that meeting to someone else they know. Because if they're thinking about buying a house, they probably know another person who's looking to buy a house because their reticular activator is stimulated and they're in that mode. So in closing, I say, your next step is to get with your agent. You're 90% of the way done with this process. So I want them to feel like this part is behind them. Now they need to go do the fun part and find a house. And if I did a good job, will you do me a favor? Can you please tell your agent, like call them in the parking lot and tell them I did a great job and that you're ready to rock and roll. I'll be following up with an email telling them exactly the result of our meeting, sending them your pre-approval, letting them know if you need seller credits, all of that stuff. That way they know I'm going to share that stuff with the agent and then we can rock and roll.
Boom, Shayla, you killed it. Love it. So that was, I have 23 bullet points of notes. If you're new in the business, you just got a huge gift, like boom, everything. I'm sure there's a few things that have been missed and we'll see if Josh can pick up anything. I'm going to share a few footnotes and then Josh, I'm going to bring you in for any questions you have or things you want to add on. We're in the mortgage coach community and if you're in our community, you believe that advice is a value proposition and it's your best sales strategy. So I just want to make sure that when you're doing that goals part of the conversation, you're finding out what their short-term real estate mortgage goals are, 3 to 7 years. Do you want to pay off your MI in 3 years? Do you want to move up into a bigger home in 7 years? Those short-term, real estate wealth building goals. And then, the long-term real estate goals, like what is the home that they want to retire in? How far are they between now and then to getting it? Is paying off their house by a certain age and being debt-free home ownership, is that a goal? And if so, when? Super important to know that so that when you do deliver the total cost analysis, you're delivering more than mortgage options. Like no doubt, Josh is going to go in a minute. And, I did an interview with him where he was competing with 7 lenders for a first-time home buyer. And he showed MI options and he won because he educated on MI options. But when you can show options and speak to both the short-term real estate goals and the long-term real estate goals, guys, you are no longer just delivering a transaction. You're delivering a life transformational experience. Like, here's what you told me your goals were, and here's my options. So Shayla, you crushed it. Anything you want to say to that before I bring Josh in the game here?
No, I knew there was like something that just blew me away with your feedback, and that is a great question. And you could tell I've done the other one thousands of times. And if you just do thousands of pre-approvals, you'll close thousands of loans, right? I mean, that's just the key.
Right.
But I love that thought process about what's your short-term real estate goals and what's your long-term. I mean, I also would love do you have a goal of buying a second home? Do you have a goal of having 10 investment properties? I mean, that's when you can really service a customer for life. And a lot of people are saying, well, I want to find my VIP customers. Like, I want to find those people. I want to have like 50 clients that are really in my tribe. Well, asking those kind of questions about short-term and long-term, you might be with a 23-year-old buyer, but that buyer is like, yeah, my goal is to have 10 investment property. I mean, they have this dialed in vision. How fun to stay with that client for 20 years and build out with them because you asked that question in the pre-approval. Like, oh, awesome.
Yeah, no, I loved it. And I love the MIT, what's your most important thing? Something new I hadn't written, but what did your realtor say about me? I mean, that is a really bold question. I thought that was incredible. I hope everybody really heard how she edifies her realtor. Just the integrity that she shows and the time that she took. I even think about how I train sometimes. Like, hey, I put it on the list. Like, hey, it's a checklist. Make sure you honor the realtor. But I mean, it's like a checklist, and you said their name and you said one nice things. I love the way you just slowed down and you told a story and it was authentic. So that was, by the way, that was a huge takeaway for me because I'm a checklist guy. Okay, I hit the checklist, and sometimes I don't slow down and hit the checklist with the type of care and intentionality that you do. So I got that like as a personal takeaway, Shayla. Josh, takeaways, questions, your turn.
Shayla, welcome to the Mortgage Coach community. We missed you and we're glad you're here. You absolutely crushed it. I have multiple pages of notes. One of the things you said early in your conversation was that before you created processes and systems, you were kind of, running over here and running over there and flailing, and there was nervousness and uneasiness in your business. And one thing I just want to point out to maybe people that are earlier in their careers is, holy cow, does this woman have a system? I mean, this is a system that, it's like the McDonald's of systems. You put in the input, you get the reliable output, you do it over and over and over and over, and it works. And then that's what a business is, right? A business is a system. And now how we got on this whole conversation is Shayla was teaching this system to other loan officers in her group. So first of all, just tie it back to system. This is a beautiful system. I took pages of notes. One other thing I wanted to just quickly point out is that Todd and I just spent a day with the guy who was written about in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So he was the rich dad, and he wrote a book. It's a killer business book called The Road Less Stupid. Shayla, have you read this?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Of course you have. And one of the things that he said in our time together yesterday was, if you are interested in having a better quality of life, then focus on asking better questions. And the thing that I took copious notes on is the phenomenal questions that Shayla's asking. So if you didn't write down all of her questions, my one recommendation would be go back and rewrite down those questions, because I bet you Shayla's asked those thousands or 10,000s of times. They're phenomenal. Some of the best scripting I've heard around it. And just get better at creating systems and asking better questions and see what happens to your business. Boom.
Shayla, I want to have you.
That was amazing.
Well, I want to ask you a question, and I want to get a script on your question, because I think too often people show up, they do this amazing experience, and then they feel like they have to close a loan before they ask for a referral. And I think during the transaction, it's the best time to get referrals, especially if you spend an hour, you connected, you delivered a total cost. I mean, you delivered a lot of value, showed a lot of care. Great time to ask for a referral. How do you do that? Like, give us the same care that you did when you explained how you edified a realtor. Give us the feel and the scripting around how you ask for referrals. That'd be great.
Yeah. So Dave, I just have to say that I have enjoyed this meeting so much. Thank you, because I know every time I've gotten a loan, even being in the industry, this is like a very vulnerable experience. It's almost like I'm getting naked financially in front of somebody. And every time I have my credit pulled, I'm nervous that I'm going to get like an F on my paper or something. And so thank you for allowing me to discuss this stuff with you, because I know that it takes a lot of trust to share this information and to dream out loud and to talk about goals and plans. And so I love the goals that you shared with me about what your short-term 3 to 7 year goals are, and even your long-term goals. Did I address everything that you need to help put you on a path for those goals? Dave's gone, but
yeah. Oh, I didn't know I had a script.
You were the person that I'm like, I'll just stare at Josh and Todd.
Yeah, no, you absolutely did. You did that and more.
So you always, of course, ask for the yes or no. You got to open the door, and if they say yes, then say, well, look, I want you to know, I'm not an attorney. I don't charge by the hour. I don't ask for, a $300 fee to meet with somebody to advise them. I actually get compensated when we successfully close your loan and put you into that house. But this is my favorite part, because I love helping people get there. And even if it takes people 2 years to get their credit or their assets or their funds together, I love it. So I got to ask you, Dave, since I enjoyed you so much, I'm always looking for more clients just like you. I would love to be referred to somebody you know. Do you have a coworker or friend or family right now that could use a meeting just like this?
Boom. That was
Huge.
That was huge, everybody. And I've interviewed enough people that are incredibly successful in this business that I just know got value from that, Shayla. That was,
Okay.
you know, that's the whole conversation. I guess one thing I'd want to point out there is that, you know, I've met Shayla enough. She does really care. So those words were not just a script, you know, well, yeah, it's a structured conversation, but she is showing up with truly caring, truly interested in their story. And just the way you heard about how she celebrates the pre-approval. I mean, she's pumped for these people. Josh, when I interviewed you about connection, and I'm going from a takeaway, a shift that you made this year, it wasn't, you said, you know what, I'm going into this year not about trying to be liked, but my number one goal when I meet with clients right now is to truly like them. Like, that is the focus and intention that you have in 2019, to like people, to be interested in people. So I hope everybody heard that and also connected emotionally. And I suspect you're going to hear that. You're going to make a note of it, but there's probably some self-work you need to do to actually go from wherever you're at today to that level of I'm interested and I really connect. Shayla, any leadership you want to bring around that? Because I know you told me about the Brene Brown interview. I had seen her TED Talk. I had not watched the Netflix special until you told me about it, and I watched it. Game changing, you know, like
Game-changing.
I still need to watch it with my wife, daughter, and my son, you know, make it a little family homeschooling session. But anything you want to add just as a leadership perspective to get loan officers, you know, really connecting at a deeper level? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm super passionate about this because this is the key ingredient. I talked about that we all have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we can all make sales calls and we can all go on meetings. It's really like the magic that happens in the meeting. And the magic is connection. The magic is I'm here with you, I'm present, and I'm open to you, and I'm not judging you, and I'm receiving you. And I think that it comes down to story, that we all have a story. And the minute that I see somebody walking in my office and I'm not looking at them as a number, and I'm not looking at them with a dollar sign on their head, and I'm not looking at them as, you know, a check mark on a list, but I'm really looking at these guys have a story, you know, and what is the story of their life that have brought them here? And I'm going to get just a tiny window into their story, but I bet you they have a story of struggle. I bet you they have a story of resilience, of overcoming, of dreaming, of feeling scared, anxious, nervous, of feeling not good enough, wanting to do right by their family. I mean, those are human things that we all share. And I don't care if it's somebody on the bus, somebody in the Delta Lounge, someone sitting across from us at our desk. That's what it is. So even if you're not outwardly talking about that, even if this gets like super uncomfortable, but if you just, you know, if you kind of can break down, like, you're a real human and I'm a real human. Like, I'm not putting on my, you know, clown mask today and I'm coming into work and I'm in this, you know, like everything's good. People can feel that there's this kind of wall in between, but that I'm a real human. I've had a short sale. I've had shit go wrong with my credit. You know, whatever. There's that immediate like connection. And so that's the word I focus on, is story. And that Netflix documentary, you guys, is called A Call to Courage. And it's with Brene Brown, and it's phenomenal. I've played it now in my branch meetings. I'm breaking it up into 20-minute segments for all of you managers out there. And we're playing at our branch meetings because I want a culture around me everywhere, in my friendships, in my family, in my business, that can be authentic and honest, and people can feel courageous to share what they want to share and not be shamed for it, and not be shunned for it. And that's where brilliance and teamwork and all kinds of stuff live and come from. So anyway, sorry, I could go on and on. You just got me going.
No, it was valuable. It was important. So we got 11 minutes left, so we're going to wrap this up. So folks, I hope we can get Shayla back in the mortgage coach community for more interviews. So if you have questions and we don't have time for them, put them down below and maybe we'll have another call with Shayla. I want to make sure we talk about two things. One, it's a refi market, and I want to make sure everybody in this community is getting after it. So we're going to cover that in just a minute. I also want to make sure that while Shayla talked about really an in-person pre-approval, she talked about the lobby experience, it's more important than ever that we have a great digital experience. Because first of all, not everybody is coming into your office. If you listen to my last interview with Josh, we talked about how to create connection, and we talked about it pure digital, because he's doing, most of his business is consumer direct. Most of his business is online, and listen to that call. A couple cliff notes. Josh, are you still doing this where, not only is every family getting a total cost analysis, because that's your digital way of delivering advice and options, but everybody you talk to is getting just a text-to-text video? Is that still part of your process?
Every new prospect, every buyer's agent, every listing agent, every time.
So you got to be thoughtful of that, and that real world, in-person, human-to-human experience. Okay, it is number one. It is the best way to connect. It is the best way to build lifelong relationships. But if that's not your model, you can do a lot of things with video. You can do a lot of things with Mortgage Coach, and you can just do a lot by still showing up on the phone with that heart of, what's your story? What are your goals? And now I'm delivering options in a way that help you make your story better, that build that story and achieve your short-term and your long-term goals. So I just want to speak to that digital experience. Maybe we'll talk about that more in future calls. If you haven't watched my call with Josh, the interview, I'm going to put it down below. It's all about personal connection and advice in a digital world. Josh, let's wrap this up around refis. And Shayla, you and Josh riffed on this, but Josh, you're killing it with Mortgage Coach. How many times have you done a TCA over the past couple of weeks or months for a refi client? And tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, so our focus has really kind of split, and I was really one-sided for a long time because I enjoy purchase business so much more. It's a lot more fun for me to get somebody into a home for some reason than it is to refinance them. So I was very one-sided that way. But my coach, Tim Brahim, recently said, so if you're not refinancing those clients, then you realize somebody else is. Do you not like your clients enough to want to follow up with them and to continue to take care of them? And that was really what I needed to realize, that we needed to shift some focus. So we've gone back and we've created a whole checklist of different messages and different media that we want to get to our past client database. So we're doing old school postcards. We're doing short little 30-second videos that we're doing on Facebook and Instagram to custom audiences to our past clients. We're doing phone calls. We're doing text messages. We're doing email pieces. We're doing economic pieces of news in our newsletter that talks about what's going on in the economy and how what we have right now is a perfect opportunity to get more efficient in your finances. In other words, if you have $200,000 in equity and $50,000 in consumer debt, you're very inefficient. And if we are, in fact, heading into another recession, which 86% of economists say we are within the next 2 years, 86% of economists say we are in the next 2 years, then now's the time to get lean and mean and financially efficient. And that's the message I want to take to my past clients. And it's something that I can get more passionate about, and I can put some energy behind. It affects me energetically a lot better, because I can really see myself taking the role as a debt advisor versus I'm just trying to make a couple $1,000 on getting your rate a little lower. So I had to find kind of a philosophical reason that I aligned around, that I could add value in the client's life, and then I could get passionate about it and figure out, all right, I want 7 different messages, 7 different media. I want every single client to understand how we can improve their life and have a transformational experience. I stole that from a good friend of mine named Dave Savage. Create a transformational experience on their finances.
Boom. So guys, first of all, when why happens and you have a personal why, everything else gets figured out. So, I mean, did you hear what Josh said? And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that, hey, I like purchase business. I like the chase. I like the hunt. And it wasn't until your coach made you created a personal why, and then you figured it out. And you, based on your model, based on your genius zone, which is creating content, delivering advice, you figured it out. So hopefully everybody got that. Walk us through this TCA, and then Shayla, I'm going to let you ask questions and close out the call with Josh. But walk us through one refi TCA, and then we'll close it up.
Yeah, well, there's 100 variations of this, but the general concept is this, guys. Right now, we have the highest amount of homeowner equity ever in the history of the United States, like ever, since the world was created. At the same time, we have the highest level of consumer debt ever in the world. So if we think about those things, we have record equity and record debt. And then we start to think about strategies to more efficiently align that debt. And then we overlay the concept that we might be moving into an economic recession in the next few years. Let's get more efficient with our finances. And that creates a great conversation. Nobody doesn't want to have that conversation. So this is a total cost analysis that I did for a realtor of mine just the other day. I copied it. Her name wasn't The Savage, by the way. That's a cognito name, just in case you were wondering. And what I did was I took her current mortgage trajectory at 4.875. We just closed this loan for her in December of 2018. And I said, listen, if you just refinance, by the way, this would all have been highlighted and there would have been a video on it when I actually sent it to the client. But since I just copied it for Dave real quick, there's no beautiful highlighting. But I said, listen, if we refinance you, not only can we get you down below 4%, in and of itself, that savings of $200 a month is a no-brainer. We should do this deal. But that's not really what I want you to think about. What I want you to think about is the wealth impact that you can have by reinvesting that $200 a month. So we take that $200 a month, we reattribute that towards principal reduction. So you continue making the same payment. You now pay off your loan in 25.58 years. And Dave, will you close out of there and go down to the 15 and 30 year? Because this is really what I wanted to cover with her, is that over the 15 years, this refinance is now going to save you $59,947. And she said, I'll be in my home longer than that. And I said, great. Well, then over 30 years, it's going to save you about $125,000 by this refinance. So I said, here's my piece of advice. You're a smart woman. You do whatever you want. But my advice is don't get lazy and make the minimum payment. You know, if we're going to refinance, keep making the same payment. Make this a $150,000 gain or $40,000 gain instead of a $70,000 gain. That's my advice as your debt manager at this point. Now this lady has no debt. She's very debt averse. So if she had debt, the other thing I would be looking at, if you guys look at the property value, I mean, she's got $550,000 in equity here. The first thing I would have done for her is to say, okay, list me out your debts and what are your monthly payments? Let's say she had $50,000 in debts and it was $800 a month. Then what I would do is I would have built another presentation, another option that would have showed her pulling out the $50,000. So her mortgage balance goes up. Her interest rate's now going to be 4.25 instead of 3.99 because we're doing a cash out refinance. But then I'm going to show the money she saved from the refinance plus the $1,000 or $800 a month in consumer debt that she's paying off. And now that's going towards principal reduction. And what would blow her mind is that she'd probably pay her loan off in something like 22 years and actually have less interest overall, and we'd get out of that debt situation. So it's a shift between loan originator and debt manager. That's the shift that we need to be making right now.
Shayla, any questions or comments for Josh?
I don't know. I'm so fired up. This has been such an amazing hour of my day, and we've been grinding hard. I've been at the office at 7:30 in the morning, and, you know, kissing my kids and sprinting out the door. And it's a really fun time that we're in. And I think right now what it's going to require, guys, is leadership. It's going to require managing your own energy, managing your team, being really strategic about your time. I was talking to one of my loan officers today who had a really nasty purchase client. And I was like, look, Katie, you're like 20 years into your career. You just paid off your house. You're trying to stay passionate about the industry. Like, just protect your energy at all costs, because there's so much opportunity right now and you have so many people to serve and to help. Serve the people you need to serve. Don't run around trying to deal with your self-esteem and your ego and, you know, let somebody rain on your parade, because we have too many people to help for that. And so I think leadership says, you know, how can we stay focused? How can we be really strategic in the way we reach out to our clients to educate them properly? How can we use these technology tools to really explain this so that we can get a quick yes instead of a ton of back and forth? I mean, this is requiring strategic thinking to be able to help the most amount of people. But the why is there. Josh, I'm so happy you covered that, because for all of us, it's a big shift in our teams that are used to purchases and having this process flow. But this is why you do the industry, so that you can build a database of clients, you can help them for life. And when opportunities like this come aboard, where you have max equity, mass debt, and low rates when we never expected to have them, going into an election year that is likely going to be bananas next year. 2020 is just, who knows how nasty it's going to be and how freaked out people are going to feel. Like, time is now. Make hay while the sun is shining. Help as many people as you can. Be strategic in how you figure it out. And I'm so stoked that we were able to squeeze that in. This was my selfish ask, because you two guys and Todd are the pro at this. And so thank you for sharing just that one strategy, Josh. And Dave, I know you'll springboard and serve so many more people around the world just because of this, you know, 5-minute conversation on that side. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
no, it was great. And so guys, if you got value, give it a like, share it with your mortgage friends. Shayla, one last question, because you've been successful without mortgage coach. You know, why this year, and you've implemented it with your team and your company? What is
because
mortgage?
I really care about my loan officers. I feel like, you know, I could be lazy. I'm 15 years in the business. I don't need any more money. I could do 10, 15 deals a month and pick the easy cherry pick ones and coast. But that's not what changed my life, the lineage of my family's lives, my kids' lives. It was a full-blown hustle and figuring out how to be the best I can be and continuing to be that person. And so as a leader, if I just rest and sit back and say, oh, well, I've got a database, I've got 300 million in my guild portfolio alone that I could just go cherry pick, I'm not serving my people well, Dave. And honestly, you know, with this internet lender and this consumer direct versus the local retail lender, we've got to get better and we've got to step up. And I just think that for all of our people, this is the greatest industry that doesn't require a college degree and it doesn't require a fancy upbringing, and you can be whoever you want to be and build your dreams in this industry, and that's never got lost on me. And so for all of my loan officers that I have big dreams for them and they have big dreams for their life, like, use the tools and be a pro and step up your game daily, because you can change the lineage of your family and leave a legacy, do whatever you want in this industry, but you're not going to do it by just hoping and praying that you get the deals. You've got to be aggressive and relentless in your improvement. So
love it. Well, it's good to have you in the community. You are officially here. Looking forward to our next interview. Guys, this is a wrap. Have an awesome weekend. For all you fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Crush it. And remember, while we are celebrated this weekend, you know, we need to be better. So not only take the love on Sunday, which I'm certainly going to do, what can we do to be a better man, you know, for our kids, for our wives, for our families? This call is a wrap. Take care, everybody.
Y'all.
thank you.